What's going on, everybody? CW Entertainment here. We're back today with another Chicago Bears podcast. And you guys know what today is about. It's about the 2018 NFL Draft. And the Chicago Bears have made their selection, and they have went with Roquan Smith, linebacker out of the University of Georgia. And it's definitely an interesting pick here that they wanted to go with. Now, we do know linebacker is one of their weaknesses that they do have, just due to the fact that they ended up losing Jarrell Freeman. Not 100% sure what Nick Kwiatkowski is going to end up turning out to be. Trevathan had kind of struggles with injuries. So it's definitely a position of need that they needed. Either that or, still need help on the offensive line. Still kind of need a pass rusher. Still need help on the defensive line. So I expect them to address that later. But Roquan Smith is the pick. And, we're just going to kind of talk about more about him. And, just kind of how I kind of feel about the pick. I'm just kind of want to get you guys' opinion. Also, how do you guys feel about it? Because it's definitely something that, I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't really happy with this pick. There's a lot of people who prefer Tremaine Edmunds. Tremaine Edmunds is definitely one of those guys that's more of a prospect, if you ask me. But it's very understandable why some people would consider Tremaine Edmunds, just because, he's a lot bigger. And he's got the body and the athleticism of what you would want out of a linebacker. Thing is, Edmunds, his issue they show sometimes is that, he can kind of get lost in the play sometimes. Like, he kind of gets fooled a little easily. So that could be one of the reasons that kind of took, maybe the Bears had Roquan Smith rated higher than what Edmunds was rated. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get in here and start talking about Roquan Smith, the new Chicago Bear that'll be playing inside linebacker with Danny Trevathan. At least I expect him to be playing inside. And he was listed as an outside linebacker, although I'm pretty sure he played kind of all over the place. And when you watch the film, he is all over the place. So I expect this pick to hopefully end up being a real good one. He did wind up grading out at a 6.74, which was the 5th ranked highest of all the draft prospects. Now, Tremaine Edmunds did rank higher than him. Like I said, Tremaine Edmunds is an athletic freak. Like, dude is just legit a monster athletic-wise, and he's only 19. He would be 20 by the time the season starts, but still. Bills, I think they got them a good player. But anyway, back to Roquan Smith. He's 6'1", 236. I've seen between 236 and 239 pounds. So he's somewhere in that mid 230-pound range. So he's definitely a guy that put on a lot of weight. And look, I'm pretty sure his playing weight was around 215. So he put on about 20 pounds. I'm guessing since, he had to... I guess he was, being referred to as a guy that might have been too small. And it sounds like, he felt like he needed to put on some extra weight. And that's exactly what he went out there and did. And, we'll take it. To be a linebacker, you got to have some, meat on you. But anyway, like I said, back to just kind of him. Just going over some accolades for him. 2017 Buckets Award winner. You all know who Dick Buckets is, one of the greatest Bears linebacker of all time. 2017 SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And he was also 2017 Consensus All-American, or you can use a unanimous decision. Pretty much everybody voted him in who had a chance to vote for All-American. This dude is definitely a guy that knows how to play the game. Respected by his peers, respected by other analysts, people who voted for him. Roquan Smith was definitely, one of the guys that was looked highly on in the NCAA last year. Now, we'll go ahead and talk about kind of what his combine was going on about. Now, his draft comparison was to Deion Jones, and that's a linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. He's a guy that's, pretty quick. He's all over the place. Deion Jones is definitely a good player, and it's not a bad comparison. There's other comparison I was hearing that it could be Patrick Willis for Vic Fangio, because Patrick Willis was around 6'1", that 230, 240 range. So it kind of, makes sense. He's getting these comparisons to a guy that's around his similar body style. So, 6'1", 230 pounds in that area. So it does make sense. If Roquan Smith turns out to be anything like Patrick Willis, this was a steal in this draft. There's some people who think Roquan Smith is like third, fourth best player in this. Well, maybe not third, but fourth, fifth best player in this draft. And they do think he is going to turn out to be the best linebacker in this draft. That's still wait to see. You never know with these picks. I mean, you hear it all the time with the quarterbacks. You hear it with every single position out there. You just don't ever know. So it's definitely an interesting pick that they did wind up going with. Personally, I mean, there was 8 guys on the board that Ryan Pace said that he would be happy with. One of them went extremely early when Cleveland took Denzel Ward. Then 5, Bradley Chubb. That would have been a guy, been great if he fell, but everybody knew he wasn't going to fall. Quentin Nelson was a guy that, we were kind of hoping for that might end up falling. So, I don't know. I mean, Quentin Nelson was kind of the guy I was kind of hoping for. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we got Vic Fangio some help, but, you also got to wind up protecting. You got to wind up protecting Mitchell Trubisky, and that's a huge part in making sure, your future's intact. You got to have your quarterback with great protection and having somebody there. But fortunately for the Bears, there was nobody really there. I mean, you may have taken the jump on Mike McGlinchey, but right now it seems like they're going to live with Charles Leno and Bobby Massey playing tackle. So that's something, we're just going to have to live with for right now. Still got other picks. We still got a 2nd, 4th, 5th, 6th. I know we don't have a 3rd. Yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah, we might have a 7th too. I got to look at the how many picks they still got. But so 2nd round, I'm expecting, some other things to happen. I'll get back into that later. Anyway, back to Roquan Smith. We keep getting a little sidetracked. But yeah, ended up running a 4.51 at his combine. That was the only drill he did participate in because he had a hamstring injury. So I don't know if that's going to come back to bite him. I mean, Pacey is definitely taking a chance. This is injury city once again for the Bears. We've barely been able to have Leonard Floyd on the field. Last year wasn't Floyd's fault. Kyle Fuller had his head down, wound up smacking dead into his knee. So, I mean, you just can't, that, to be honest, that goes on Fuller. That's not really Floyd's fault. I mean, Floyd just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Floyd was trying to make one of those hustle plays. Fuller's not looking, dives into Floyd's knee, and it ends up knocking him out for the season. But, like I said, back to Roquan Smith. He will be teaming up with Floyd too. I'm liking the pick. I mean, only problem is he's a kind of small. 6'1". You kind of would want your linebackers to be like, that prototype 6'3" range. Somewhere around there. I think that's kind of why I was leaning towards Tremaine Edmonds a little bit more over Roquan Smith. But it's not a bad pick at all. It's not a bad pick at all because he's got Roquan Smith. They always say he's got the intangibles more than what Tremaine Edmonds had. Roquan Smith, he's all over the place. He can cover. He can definitely run stop. He can cover the running backs out the backfield, like on toss plays. He can cover them on like swing patterns. He pretty much can do it all. So he's definitely your do-it-all linebacker. And I think that's the reason why Pace wanted up going after him and making sure he got his guy. And, well, we'll never know who number 1 was for Pace. Honestly, I think if Quentin Nelson was there on the board, I'm almost pretty certain that he probably would have went up there to grab Quentin Nelson because, you got Harry Heastand and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cover what his kind of draft profile was. I mentioned earlier he was compared to Deion Jones, and then we've heard other stuff about Patrick Willis come up in the last few days. But an overview that they had on him, Smith is an ascending linebacker prospect with elite athletic ability, plus intelligence and an ability to be an effective cover linebacker on passing downs, which basically means he can play all 4 downs. While he's a little undersized, which I was mentioning, he does have the quickness and speed to keep himself from being mauled, which is a good thing because you don't want to be a linebacker and something like them big linemen can get on top of you and you just can't break away. He was good in 2016, but great in 2017 and projects as a player who hasn't tapped his full potential. Smith has Pro Bowl traits and talent and will come off the board in the first round. So they knew he was going to be a first rounder. His name was even creeping up higher. I thought Tampa Bay was going to take him, but Tampa wound up trading back with Buffalo. And so I was like, well, I think the Bears are definitely getting Smith here, unless they wind up shocking everybody and taking somebody else. I mean, when I seen not Buffalo, yeah. Well, yeah. When I seen Buffalo trade up and Tampa move out, I was like, this is definitely going to be Smith. Wound up being the Bears pick. And it was kind of pretty obvious there. But we're going to go ahead and more stuff on his draft profile. Putting it up here too. His strengths and weaknesses that they wound up giving him. And the strengths farly outweigh the weaknesses that he has. Now, for the strength side, we'll go ahead and speak on it. Former high school wideout with athletic ability. So receiver kind of shows why he's a pretty decent guy. Oh, not decent guy. Pretty decent speed-wise. So it kind of makes sense. Speed demon who walks down backs looking to race him to the corner. his highlight tape definitely shows he does a great job beating running backs to the edge. And he's there, and when he gets his hands on, he's making that tackle. Fluid and explosive in space. He's a block slipper, which, like as I mentioned earlier, is definitely needed, especially when you got big guards and tackles and centers coming right at you, fullbacks. You got to be able to get off the block, especially in a 3-4, because them guards normally are coming off free. Because you only got you got your two ends, and then you got your nose tackle, and then normally you got somebody's coming off free. Praised by his head coach as being a tremendous leader who holds himself accountable. You always need a leader and a linebacker. Clearly, Trevathan is definitely the leader of the defense, but you're definitely, you can have multiple leaders. Now, you don't want too many voices, because then that could become a problem. But, it's nice to always have somebody that's a leader in that locker room. Danny Trevathan can definitely take him under his wing. He's going to be a day one starter. Nick Kwiatkowski, you're going to probably have to watch out, man. You're definitely a good, rotational piece. But, I definitely see Roquan. You took this guy in the top 10. He's going to be a day one starter. Has instincts and football intelligence. That's how I mentioned earlier. That's why that was one of the biggest things that separated him and Tremaine Evans. His intelligence is like off the chart, and he knows where the ball's going. He knows where it's going to end up being at. So he knows where to go. He doesn't get lost with play action, like read options, fakes, stuff like that. That you're going to start, especially nowadays in the NFL, you're going to start seeing a lot more of that stuff. So he doesn't want to being faked by that. He does a great job knowing where he's supposed to be at and being in the right spot at the right time. Laser sharp focus to find the football when shifting through zone reads and jet sweeps. So basically, he does a great job. Like, he knows when the ball's going to the jet guy. So pretty much, he'll fit pretty well, like defensively, in what Matt Nagy is going to be running on offense. So he'll be able to see it in practice. Because if you're watching the Kansas City games, there was a lot of jet sweep motions. There was a lot of inside zone runs. So he knows how to pinpoint those type of plays, and he knows how to get his nose in there and make the play. Plays with discipline pretty much just tells me he doesn't have many penalties throughout the game. Senses when running backs are prepping for screen and fires downhill to stop it. I like that one because the Bears have been notoriously known the past few years to always give up big chunks on screen plays, and they won't run them themselves either. That's one thing you definitely noticed throughout the John Fox era. I don't know if that's Vic Fangio's fault. I don't know if that's just a personnel fault. But the Bears are notoriously known for just getting blown away by any kind of screenplay. It's always frustrating just seeing, it'll be third down and long, and then and they run that screenplay, and they're getting about 20, 25 yards or more off of it. Face-up tackler who sticks his nose in noise. So pretty much he likes getting in there and he likes making plays. Kind of see that with Danny Trevathan as well. He's a guy that's not afraid to stop the run. Rare stop, start, and change of direction talent. So one of the plays like I was watching, I believe it was like a jet sweep. It was either jet sweep or a toss or something. The guy, he kind of outran the play, but he was able to, because the running back wound up cutting back in. Roquan was able to stop quick enough and still be able to grab the ankle enough, and he let his teammates help him make the tackle. But you kind of see that kind of in his highlights as well. He's a guy that can definitely stop and start and keep going like if he needs to. So he's definitely, he has control over his body, and that's definitely key, especially when, a lot of the plays in the NFL lately are designed to get them outside. So, it's designed to get the ball to the quick players, that deals with bubble screens, quick screens, stuff underneath, drag routes. And the fact that he's able to, he's got enough control over his body to make sure that he's in the right place at the right time as well to make that play, that's necessary. Flips pursuit from one target to the next seamlessly. Pretty much, if the ball winds up, if he's covering one guy, he's able to get to the next guy if the ball doesn't end up going to his guy. So pretty much just talking about his coverage skills once again. Gets early bail into coverage against play fake. So play action, he knows how to get. He doesn't get faked. If he does end up getting faked, he's able to get back into his position pretty quickly. That's pretty self-explanatory there. Able to mirror and match against the most athletic running backs in coverage. So basically, he knows how he does a great job covering not linebackers. He does a great job covering running backs out the backfield. And the way you see a lot of these guys now, you got guys like Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Le'Veon Bell, Jay Ajayi. These guys can do a great job coming out the backfield and making plays with their hands. You see it a lot, especially saw it a lot with the Eagles You saw it with the Patriots, how they used Deion Lewis and James White. And you're definitely seeing that more, and you're going to have to deal with that in our division too, because Dalvin Cook is coming back for the Minnesota Vikings, and you're definitely going to have somebody to stop him. I mean, like I've said it before, Dalvin Cook had an opportunity, probably the rookie of the year this year, if he didn't tear his ACL. I mean, I believe he definitely would have been in the running with Alvin Kamara. Gets early jumps to join crossing routes and has the speed to carry them across the field. Basically, he can pick up a crossing route in zone and pretty much stick with the receiver, keep making sure he's keeping his eyes on the quarterback, or he can, just kind of he can jump those routes if they're coming underneath him. Pretty much, they're talking about he's a great cover linebacker as well as he is a run stopper. Searches out and squeezes the receiver when playing zone. So pretty much, he's a great cover linebacker. I think I called him a cover corner just a second ago. He's a great cover linebacker, and he just knows how to make plays. He knows where he has to be to make sure that, if the ball's coming that way, he's making sure he's getting inside that wide receiver to at least make it a tough catch if he's going to wind up catching it. And if not, he's going to wind up knocking that ball away. And you see that stuff in his highlight film. Now, we're going to go ahead and go on to some of the weaknesses that they do have with our new guy, Roquan Smith. And one of them is a little undersized, and we have mentioned he's about 6'1". I believe Danny Trevathan's about the same height, 6'1", 6'2"-ish area, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. As long as you can play with it and you're playing at a high level, then you can live with it. Has to stay one step ahead of the blocking scheme, or he can get engulfed by size. Now, they would mention with his strengths that, he does a great job of getting rid of guys. But if he's, struggling also being engulfed by big guards, centers, and tackles, then that's kind of interesting how that's also a strength and a weakness of him. I'm not really sure where they're kind of going with that. We need to diagnose and trigger just a hair faster on the next level. So basically, he needs to, they talk about how great intelligence he is. So basically, he just needs to be able to get it quicker. So just kind of understanding things quick. And I think that's where Vic Fangio is going to be able to come in to make sure he's understanding what's going on. He's going to be at these rookie mini camps. He's going to be able to see what Trubisky and the offense is doing. And so he's going to be learning as the entire offseason goes along. Occasionally comes in hot rather than breaking down in space as a tackler. Like I said, I mentioned it during the streams. You do see him over pursue kind of quite a bit because he's trying to beat the running back to the edge, and it kind of gives the running back a cutback lane. In the NFL, a lot of the good running backs are going to take advantage of that, and you're not going to be able to grab an ankle on them because they're strong enough in their lower body wise to be able to break that, and they're going to wind up getting extra yards. And I mean, if some guys, you might be able to grab a leg, and you might have guys able to come over and clean them up. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you end up missing. And the NFL, they will make you pay for that. We need more schooling on handwork when taking on blocks. So pretty much, they're pretty much talking about he doesn't get rid of blocks well. But like I said, it's interesting because they were talking about how he does do a good job shedding blocks. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of interesting to me. That shouldn't have been a strength of his then. If they got two of them on here as a weakness about him, he needs to have better handwork to knock away blocks. Needs to do a better job of recognizing oncoming blocker in his periphery. So it sounds like he can get blindsided pretty easily. He's not there. He's not paying attention to see what's like his other surroundings. I guess he's more focused on the ball than he is everything else is going around him, which is something you do have to wind up learning, and it can be something that he's going to have to learn kind of on his own. It might not. I mean, you might be able to. That could be something that can also be taught as well. It's just going to be repetition. Gets touched up by second level traffic and needs to continue to improve finding more efficient routes to the ball. So pretty much, say like a toss play or one of those jet sweeps, you got guards, tackles, pulling, you got fullbacks, there's a lot going on. In the NFL, everything's faster too. So pretty much, honestly, I don't even understand why that was a strength of his now. It doesn't make sense why kind of block shedding was one of his strengths. Pretty much, they kind of say he can get lost, and he can wind up getting one. It's not necessarily getting lost, but he can find his way getting, blocked well by a guard or somebody pulling or somebody coming at him. And it sounds like he can kind of get washed out of a play. So there's definitely pros and cons to this pickup. Honestly, I think it'll end up working out well. At least I hope it winds up working out well. I'm putting a lot more faith into this pick than I have, I guess, over the last couple. Honestly, I wasn't a big fan when they wanted to trade up to get Floyd, and I wasn't a big fan. I'm not going to say I wasn't a big fan of the Trubisky pickup. I preferred Deshaun Watson over, but we'll end up seeing how that goes. I mean, right now I do have a lot of faith in Trubisky and see what he'll do. But Roquan Smith is definitely a guy. This is probably the first guy that isn't kind of listed as a project. Trubisky was definitely a project. Still is one. That's why we got Nagy now. Leonard Floyd is definitely still a project. If he can stay healthy, that'll be huge, and hopefully he ends up, taking that next step. I was hoping he wound up taking it last year. You definitely noticed when he was on the field and when he was not. And then you got Kevin White. We all know that whole situation. That was still a project as well. I mean, all three of his picks were project picks. And this one is kind of the first one. It's kind of almost a safe pick. You kind of think about that. It is in kind of that safe range. Him and Nelson are probably kind of some guys that are kind of where it looks like it sounds like they're safe picks. And, and nothing's wrong with that because at this point, Ryan Pace, yes, he got an extension, but he does also need to wind up hitting on this. And if he can hit on this, that'll definitely be a big thing for him going forward. We could definitely use somebody that's a bona fide stud in that middle. Now, one thing that wasn't in that weakness, there are a lot of people who believe that Roquan Smith is fitted better for an outside linebacker in a 4-3. So pretty much how like Lance Briggs is, or I guess how Lance Briggs was when he was playing with Urlacher and them in the Lovie Smith Tampa 2 style. So there are people who say he might not be the prototypical 3-4 linebacker. This is where Vic Fangio is going to come in, and hopefully he ends up winding up making sure that he does turn out into a stud that, a lot of people think he can wind up being. Now, just the last little bit I want to go into, just kind of want to talk about kind of his stats that he wound up having at Georgia. He had 146 total tackles. He had 85 in his last year. Ended up with 14 tackles for a loss last season. Had a 20.5 total. Wound up having 5 in his sophomore year, and he had 1.5 in his freshman year. And then ended up with 6.5 sacks for his career. One thing I was noticing, I went over when I was watching NFL Network, but then I flipped over to see what they were talking about on ESPN about Roquan Smith. They ended up saying that he improved his blitzing technique, and that kind of got my ears a little perked up a little bit because I was like, improved his blitzing. That's key because you gotta have guys that can blitz well, that can get at the guys like Rodgers. Rodgers can move extremely well, so if you can send a blitzing linebacker, the thing is with Rodgers, he's going to get the ball out pretty quickly anyway. But if you can send, you can catch some of these quarterbacks off guard. And if you're a good blitzing linebacker, that's definitely key. That means you can find those holes and wind up getting inside pressure. And quarterbacks can't stand inside pressure. So if Roquan Smith is capable of doing that, that'll definitely be huge. And it also shows he had 3 forced fumbles over his career. Only had 1 last year, so nothing too crazy. We already mentioned some of the awards he wound up having, unanimous for All-American Buckets Award, all SEC Defensive Player of the Year. But there was some other stuff that I also saw. He had the most solo tackles throughout the SEC in this past season. He was ranked like 6 or something throughout the entire NCAA. So he was definitely a top guy that was making tackles all the time. Assisted tackle wise, he had 6, or he tied for, didn't tie. He was ranked 6. For most assisted tackles in the SEC. Total tackles, he had 137, which was first. Tackles for a loss, he wound up being 3rd in the SEC with 14. Forced fumbles, he was 5th with 2. And that was actually in the 2016 season. So, Roquan Smith, it's definitely a chance that, this could be a home run pick, or it could wind up not working out as well. That hamstring is kind of the biggest thing that concerns me the most as a Bears fan. Just because over the years we've seen so many injuries, and we are just tired of our seasons being pretty much injury riddled throughout the entire year. Last year we just saw guys dropping down left and right. The year before we've seen guys dropping down left and right. Legit, we had nobody playing these last couple of years, and it's just tired. It's tiring seeing half your team not even being able to play. Most of these guys look like they should be like in college or not even, at least even in the NFL sometimes, the guys that they wind up having to replace. So hopefully his hamstring is okay. I'm sure that's got to be spoken on soon. I'm sure we'll hear from Ryan Pace. I don't know if we'll hear from Vic Fangio, Nagy. This was definitely a pick for Fangio. And a little side note, Fangio wound up hitting a hole-in-one earlier today, so that was actually kind of pretty cool that they wanted to mention that. So hopefully, everything winds up working out for this pick. honestly, I don't give ratings at all after, the first day. ESPN and NFL Network, or NFL.com, they'll come out with a rating after the draft and all that. So I normally think, you definitely deserve 3, 4, 5, at least 3 years before you can actually go start rating these guys, because that gives them some time to be in the NFL and see, because after that period, you can actually start seeing exactly who this player is actually going to turn out being. So I'm not giving like this a draft grade or anything. I'm just hoping that this is winding up being the correct pick. He's reunited with Leonard Floyd, so hopefully that winds up, they get that Georgia tandem rolling. Now, I'm going to leave it off right here, but there's one thing. We got round number 2 and number 3 coming tomorrow night. We only have a second round pick, don't have a third one because of the Trubisky trade. There's a possibility they want to trade down in the second round and maybe recoup a third round pick. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that. But there was an interesting name that wound up popping up throughout the mock drafts. The guys that were doing like a full 7-round mock draft. Lorenzo Carter's name was popping up. That was an outside linebacker that was a pass rusher. He's kind of outside linebacker, defensive end, pass rusher for Georgia. If he's there, there's a possibility the Bears could look at him. Now, Mel Kiper said that this guy is kind of the most biggest boom or bust guy in this draft, he believes, because he's a very good athlete, but he kind of does not, I guess he takes plays off, is what he pretty much says. He said he should, I guess, have more sacks and stuff, and he should have more, like, his stats should be a little bit better than what they show sometimes. And, we all know who Vic Fangio is. Vic Fangio is going to work you, and you're going to give out your best effort. And if that's a guy that they wind up taking, hey, we might have 3 Georgia linebackers on this team, and they all could have played with each other at one point in time. I'm pretty sure Floyd wound up playing with those guys too. So that's going to wind up doing it here for us. I know this is kind of got a little bit longer than maybe what I was kind of hoping for, but it's the NFL draft, man. The Bears, this is my favorite team in all sports. And it's the NFL draft, what can you say? But you guys, I do want to say thank you all very much for listening into the Chicago Bears podcast once again. Bears select Georgia linebacker Roquan Smith. And it's hopefully going to be an interesting season. Hopefully him and Danny Trevathan get something going. But you guys, I do want to say once again, thank you all for listening. If you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you guys hit the like button. Leave a comment. What do you guys think of the Roquan Smith pick? Who did you really want that wasn't there, or maybe they were there at that pick at the time? But anyway, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with the videos I'll be posting of the Chicago Bears podcast and other stuff I'll also be having on my channel. I'm out to next time, everybody. Peace. Bear down.